So hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Paper Chat. And today I am joined by Fawful the Great 64, and we're going to talk about something that has been discussed quite a lot on Twitter, and that is whether Thousand Year Door is a full remake rather than a remaster, and also why it's worth $60. So yeah, I think at this point, I feel like it's pretty easy to tell that it's a remake, but since the line has been blurred so much between a remake and a remaster, I feel like it kind of does make sense to kind of discuss it here, for people who are still kind of confused by it. But basically, this is obviously a full remake, kind of looking closely at it, and I feel like it's more apparent if you've played Thousand Year Door quite a lot, since I've replayed it several times.
Yeah, I also played Thousand Year Door so much, and also Super Paper Mario, and honestly, I feel like Super Paper Mario feels more similar to the original Thousand Year Door engine than this remake, just from looking at it. Obviously, we haven't been able to play it yet, but everything is remade. All the assets are remade from the ground up, the environment is remodeled, and of course, from what we can tell, the timing in battle is different. And I don't know why people think this is a remaster. I've seen people saying that especially on GameFAQs. GameFAQs is one of the most terminally negative sites in general, but people generally seem to agree that this is a remaster, judging by the poll that someone made, and I don't see it.
I think there's a couple reasons for why people are calling this a remaster. One is because when we initially were asking for Thousand Year Door, we were only asking for a remaster, back in 2019 when we did hashtag remaster.
With Arlo.
Yeah.
With Arlo's, big movement. I don't know. I feel like when that was all going on, though, the idea of what that remaster would be was in everyone's heads, and I feel like we weren't thinking about something this drastic. We were thinking about something that looked more like the HD texture pack for Dolphin.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of like Mario 3D All-Stars, but with better graphics. I feel like they used AI to upscale a lot of the graphics on that. But with pulling the uncompressed stuff from the vault, but still the same engine, still the same physics, maybe a couple of glitches patched. I think that's what all of us envisioned when we thought about what a remaster would be. And a lot of us would be satisfied with that. A lot of us would have been satisfied with that, and I feel like most of us would have been satisfied with that.
Yeah.
But this remake goes above and beyond. Remake goes above and beyond.
Now that we're actually seeing the remake, this is definitely the better scenario here and everything, but another reason why I feel like some people are calling this a remaster rather than a remake is because some people set their bar really high for what a remake is, and it's not a lot of people, since I think one of the main reasons is the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is actually more of a reimagining than a remake. I mean, yes, it technically is a remake, but
I think it's just the fact that they call it remake.
Yeah.
That's why people have used that as an excuse to basically draw the line for what constitutes a remake at that, when that's way above what actually makes a remake.
Yeah, and then there's also, on the remaster side, there's Metroid Prime Remastered. I keep seeing people bring that up time and time again when I'm discussing that Thousand Year Door is a remake. And the difference between Metroid Prime Remastered and the Thousand Year Door remake is that Thousand Year Door remake is doing more than just upscaling the graphics and some of the models. And Metroid Prime Remastered, yes, it does change quite a lot, but it's still based on the original engine, and it's still basically kind of a very high quality version of the original game with some things added, while Thousand Year Door feels like it's kind of being remade from the ground up. And I kind of wanted to go through some of the examples of that. But yeah, like 1 is completely remade assets. I mean, like either they took some of them like that were basically the original uncompressed versions of them that the sprites were based on from the original version. And then also,
Yeah, I feel like they probably did that, but added to it.
yeah,
Back sprites, new poses, new arm pose. Like Flavio has a new singing animation where clearly there's a new arm pose that was definitely not in his original texture sheet. And so, like, I definitely feel like they might have started with the original uncompressed assets, but they fleshed them out, added to them, redrew things. They redrew some things, like they tweaked Yoshi's face a little bit.
yeah. I definitely think they did redraw some things. Like, I mean, it's either the case where they redrew everything, but basing it and, like, kind of basing it off of the originals, kind of using the originals as a reference, or taking those originals, like the uncompressed versions of them, and tweaking them, kind of changing aspects of them, adding on to them. And then, obviously, we do know that there's a lot of things that are completely new, like a lot of the animations and poses and expressions. Like, we could see, like, already, like, a lot of Mario's expressions, and then also, like, the, Goombas, like, when you go into a battle, they do that pose, and, like, a lot of the characters...
And also they redrew some of the sprites for, like, Koops. Koops' hands in the original were inconsistent on the amount of fingers, but they redrew it to fix that.
Yeah. So, there's definitely quite a lot of things that they've done, and we'll probably see more as we get, like, new footage and get closer to the release and everything. But yeah, I that's just, like, one thing that I can tell. But another thing on top of that, which, I mean, on its own, that might not fully warrant it being a remake, but the next thing definitely does. The fact that the environments are kind of obviously, like, rebuilt, like, and kind of completely remade from the ground up. These are not the original maps. Like, these, like, you can kind of tell, like, looking at it closely, it doesn't use the same map geometry as the original. I mean, the textures are different as well, even though a lot of them are remade versions of them. Like, a lot of the textures are different, and a lot of things look completely different in the maps and everything. And it also has the papercraft theming and everything, which, I mean, the original was only very slightly like that. It was more kind of along the lines of Paper Mario 64 style, but now it kind of mixes the style of the original Thousand Year Door with having, like, some elements of the papercraft style from Color Splash and Origami King.
Yeah, they definitely combined them to great effect with, like, it looks papery, but it has, like, the texture detail from the original, like the 2D art and stuff to kind of make it's almost as if they printed out the textures from the original in HD, of course, and, like, built it in real life, crafted it together. That's kind of how it looks. And I think it looks really good, and it was clearly remodeled, and clearly, like, I would not be surprised if, like, after this comes out, some developer interviews happen and they talk about how they made some of it in real life. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I am really looking forward to those developer interviews in general, like, just to see, like, what Tanabe is saying about this game, and,
Man, imagine if they have commercials where it's like, remember that Sticker Star commercial? Like, I know Sticker Star, but, like, that commercial was very high production quality. They made the environments in real life and did a stop motion animation of it.
yeah.
Like, imagine if they released a commercial for Thousand Year Door that was filmed in a similar way. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Like, I feel like almost all of the recent Paper Mario games have had some pretty cool, like, advertising things. So I'm really looking forward to see what they do with, like, Thousand Year Door in terms of that. I think they could do some pretty cool things, but and they're already advertising the game in a much better way than they have before. Like, they're definitely emphasizing, like, the story and everything, but I don't want to get too off topic here. But yeah, but speaking of Nintendo's recent promotion of it, basically their latest trailer was actually the opening cutscene. and we saw that was basically a pre-rendered cutscene from what we've seen. I am like 99% sure that's like pre-rendered. So I feel like we're probably like on top of that, we're gonna have some pre-rendered cutscenes here. And the fact that we're already confirmed to have one kind of shows that they are going above and beyond, and this is more than just a remaster for them to add things like that.
Just in the opening, the production value on that is insane. Like I could see that being like a motion graphic intro to a movie.
Yeah.
Like a credit sequence or something like
that.
Imagine what the credits are going to look like. Imagine if they do something like that with the credits and
that
make
would
like
be amazing.
a parade, an actual parade, because the GameCube version only had like silhouettes walking by on a black screen and screenshots.
Yeah.
Imagine if they made an actual parade, like with all the characters going by, and they had it in that style. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they're doing this for the intro, they're probably doing this for a lot more parts of the game.
Like, I think that the one, I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but there's one where, like, I'm just gonna say, like, Far Outpost, like, with the cannon. I'm not gonna go into any more details other than that. That cutscene, I think that could be pre-rendered. The one before the final boss as well, that's, like, really long and should be skippable, I think that's also going to be a pre-rendered cutscene.
See, I don't know about that, just because, like, maybe. But the dialogue, you usually have to, the dialogue during that is, you skip through it.
They could handle the, I was thinking they could handle the dialogue like, they did with the intro and have it in, like, a way where it has it, like, over the actual, like, animations and everything. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I personally feel like that they could, like, they could get away with doing that in the game. Maybe just make more dynamic camera angles. Maybe they could, like, do some cute little fade in. Like in Origami King, there were some parts where, like in the Valumental area with the water Valumental, that this hyper realistic water that was clearly pre-rendered, but then it went right into gameplay, and there wasn't like you would have to be looking for where it switches. So they could do something like that, like have the part where the well, I don't want to say what it is, but like the way the world changes during that cutscene, have that be pre-rendered, but then have it seamlessly fade into in-engine so the characters can have their dialogue and you can go read it at your own pace.
Yeah.
But the way I would make that skippable is just by adding another feature Origami King had, and that is basically if you die in battle, restart from the beginning of the battle. Like, obviously that would be broken if they had it in the Pit of 100 Trials, but like
maybe only
for story stuff, because it is very tedious to go through all the cutscenes and stuff again. And the cutscene is just so important that I don't want to just make it skippable. Like, just make it so you don't have to go back to before it after you die. But that's another discussion. But yeah.
Moving on. There's another thing. I actually had a full discussion with Super Mario T about this, but basically new gameplay features were hinted. We've already seen like the tattle check thing, and I definitely feel like they could do more with like new gameplay features. I'm not sure what exactly they'll be, but I'm sure they will like have some changes and some things. I mean, like it really, like, from what we've seen like already, it just looks like such a huge overhaul from the original, and it really seems they could add.
And that toad in Glitzfield, it's new. There's got to be a reason that toad is there. There's got to be something that he's there for, like what happens if you talk to that character.
Yeah, maybe that's fast travel, like another form of fast travel, or maybe they'll like overhaul the fast travel from the original, because the original fast travel, like the original fast travel,
they just use the magical map.
Yeah, that's what I really.
The map.
Yeah,
like make it so basically, as long as you can get to a place at that point in the story, like obviously in some chapters you're locked into the chapter and you can't leave, so make it so you can't use it then. But any other time, if you've been to a place before and at that point in the story could theoretically get there by walking, then make it so you can select it on the map and warp there.
Yeah. So, yeah, just in general, we definitely know that they're gonna have like some things on top of the title check that they're gonna add to this remake. So that definitely kind of adds to the fact that this is gonna be a remake rather than a remaster. I know some remasters can have new gameplay features, but it's like very minimal. And I feel like it's like the combination of all of these features on top of how much of an overhaul this is really shows that this is a full remake here. It's just another thing. Like, this kind of goes on top of like the animations in new assets and things. Like, when you look back at the trailer and kind of look at how like the whole battle sequence is, it looks like completely overhauled from the original. Like, there is no way this is running off of the original code and everything when you look at this. Like, just like with how the battle transition starts, like how everything like folds in and like it just like there's so much.
Even just the fact that Mario assumes an angry pose before a battle starts, I feel like that wasn't in the original. That's a new thing.
Oh yeah, I think.
And like the Goombas, when they come into the battle, they have they strike a pose, and I feel like they're probably gonna do that for every enemy. And I can't wait to see what all the different ones are.
Oh,
and
that would be amazing. Yeah, and another thing, like on top of like Mario doing that pose, if you saw on the Japanese website, he also does a pose right before like he attacks the enemy and everything, like when you confirm to attack an enemy. It's almost kind of similar to how like in the modern games when he does like I think he does something similar to that, like when you right before you attack an enemy. Kind of gives me those vibes a little bit, but it fits Thousand Year Door so well, and it's really cool how they had like there is so much more detail here. It really seems like they just completely rebuilt this rather than just like kind of like just adding on to the original game. Like, and also like other things too, like even more in terms of like animation. If you saw like the big blooper when they do the ink move, it's like I think that ink seems to be like it's basically like 3D. It's just like completely random.
It reminds me of the paint from Color Splash.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. And then when you also look in like Roadport, there's like puddles of water that look realistic on the ground as well. That kind of has that, like, I think like a lot of those details, like, Origami King also had a lot of those details, like with that realistic water scene. And I mean, some of those were pre-rendered, but like sometimes there were parts where it was actually like rendered in the game and everything. But it seems like there's just a ton of detail here, like with some of the, and then also the bubbles in Bogley Woods when with the Punies, that also looks realistic as well. And then also like with Flurry's scene, it has like the flowers as well that kind of looks like somewhat realistic. It just seems like they're adding those little touches that they could really only do if this is like remade from the ground up. It really seems like they wouldn't be able to pull that off if they were just kind of building it off of the original.
Yeah, like, and honestly, the fact that when you mentioned Flurry, and I just remembered that you could like, obviously we already know all the partners have back sprites, but you actually could see Flurry's back sprite in some of the footage for like a couple frames, and I'm still not used to it.
Yeah.
it looks odd, but like we've never seen her from behind before, so. But the fact that they did all this, the fact that they're going the extra mile, I can't wait to see what back sprites for other characters. Like, I want to see Flavio's back sprite.
Also Vivian as well.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. I made a fan-made back sprite for Vivian at one point, but we're gonna have to see how close I got. I got pretty close with Koops.
Yeah,
because I made.
Also, the sticker sheet artwork as well. Since I'm not sure if you saw my tweet about that, but like you got pretty close to the renders that they use for that.
Oh, speaking of which. Can you send me the source of where you got the high quality versions of it? Because in the tweet you were quoting, it was low quality. I couldn't find the source for the where you found the high quality version.
Okay, but yeah, so one final thing about how this is a full remake rather than a remaster. This is essentially the next Paper Mario game. I mean, yeah, it is a remake, but like it's the next big project that Intelligent Systems has been working on since Origami King. And it's been 4 years, because Paper Mario, that's always like it's usually on a 4 year cycle.
Yeah, the only like Super Paper Mario was 3 years, but that was built on the same engine from Thousand Year Door. And like yeah, the fact that they they didn't drop this 2 years after Origami King. They spent a whole cycle working on this. So if it was a remaster, it wouldn't have taken them this long to build this.
Yeah. It really, like, I don't know, like, when I think of a remaster, I mean, yeah, there's, like, Metroid Prime Remaster, but, like, it really seems like that wouldn't, like, take too long, since it would be based on the original code. I don't know why they would take 4 years to make something that's essentially just based off of the original version of the game. It seems like Intelligent Systems would rather put in the effort into making a new game rather than putting so much effort into a remaster like that. That's why I feel like this is a full remake, because it seems like they would put in the effort if they were rebuilding this from the ground up.
Yeah, and that's why I really want to have hope that this is a blueprint for future games.
Yeah, I almost feel like this is kind of like the second reboot for Paper Mario, I would say. Like,
oh God, I hope.
Like
and the next game just picks right up where Super left off in terms of the continuity.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But yeah. So moving on, and I feel like all of the stuff that we were talking about kind of like feeds into this, I would say, with this point. But yeah, I feel like this remake definitely seems like it will be worth $60 from what I've seen. Like
oh,
what,
definitely.
Like we said, it's a full remake, and I know this is a bit biased, but it's one of the best Mario games of all time. Like it's
no, I agree. It has a full amount of content. Like this is not a smaller game than what they're releasing nowadays. This game, like even the original GameCube version, is like complete. It's like it's 20-30 hour game, full of content, full of 8 chapters, full of a pit of 100 trials. It's like all these side quests. It's a full game. It arguably has more content than some of the modern games. So, like, I don't know how anyone could say that because it originally released before, it inherently is lesser and should be charged less.
Yeah.
Even then, the original game is super expensive, or I guess it might go down now that the remake is out. But
it's going down, but it's not gonna go that far down. I don't think it's gonna be cheaper than this remake, because I mean it's a GameCube game. GameCube games are usually pretty expensive. I mean, yeah, I guess like for availability later down the road, it's nice if for collectors to have like just a little cheaper price. But this remake is still probably gonna be like cheaper than the original version, especially when it goes on sale. Because I mean, yes, Nintendo games do go on sale when you look on other websites, rather than just Nintendo's store. So I feel like this is definitely gonna be a better deal than just buying the original game. And plus, it's more accessible as well, since you don't have to pull out like an old Wii or GameCube to be able to play it. It's just super accessible. You can also play it on the go as well, which is like, I mean, yeah,
and for people who haven't played the original, this is gonna be no different than a brand new game. And honestly, I would not be surprised if a lot of people who started the series with one of the modern games played this and maybe they were saying, I don't know why people like this old game so much more. I would not be surprised if a ton of people who have only experienced the modern Paper Mario games play this game and go, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I think people starting with Origami King might actually be a blessing in disguise, because they'll see Thousand Year Door, think, oh yeah, I like Origami King, so I'll play Thousand Year Door, and then they'll be blown away by how good it is. Like, with how much, kind of going from the standpoint of a younger player going from Origami King to Thousand Year Door, to them it would technically be a new game, but that's, such a substantial upgrade. I like Origami King, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Thousand Year Door has so much more of that, kind of idea that, it really... I feel like it
is fully unrestricted in how much it can explore the Mario world to its fullest potential.
Yeah, and also, on top of that, with the gameplay as well, it's really, one of the best iterations of...
The badge system is basically what Origami King's equipment system felt like a half-assed attempt at.
Yeah, it feels like they probably added that in last minute, from what it seemed. They're like, oh, they want badges? I see hashtag remaster Thousand Year Door. We'll add, a couple very watered-down Thousand Year Door elements in this.
Yeah, but from a kid who only played Origami King going into Thousand Year Door, they'll just see that as, oh, they messed with this idea a little bit, now they're going all out with it.
Yeah. That's just such a, honestly, I feel like kids kind of growing up with Mario right now are so lucky that they have Thousand Year Door, and also Mario RPG,
Yeah, Mario RPG, it's interesting because Mario RPG came out slightly before my time, so I didn't play that one as a kid. And I played only a little bit of it, when I was older, but I played the full game for the first time with this remake, and, it's insane that kids nowadays are going to be growing up with both that, which originally came out slightly before my time, and also immediately after with this game that was right when I was growing up, and, it's insane. Basically, the glory days coming back in full force.
Yeah, and it's just, absolutely amazing. And going back on the point of why this is worth $60, just from all the things that we've been seeing, it's clear that there's so much effort put into this. This isn't just a standard little remaster or port, 3D All-Stars and different, or Skyward Sword HD, which was also full price and really wasn't worth it. This actually has a ton of detail put into it. Like we were mentioning earlier, all of these new animations, the new pre-rendered cutscenes. When you watch the new intro animation, you can see the attention to detail that they're putting into this. It's just amazing.
Yeah. This isn't here's an old game with minimal changes. This is, what if this old game was made with new hardware? What if we had the Nintendo Switch hardware in 2004 when we were making that game? What if this was a Switch release? It's not here's an old game on the Switch. It's, here's that game if it was on the Switch. I'm probably wording it in a very confusing way, but there's this is, for most people, this is going to be a new game. In my personal opinion, one of the best Paper Mario games. Easily going to be not very many people got a Wii U, so I wouldn't imagine a lot of people played Color Splash, but there's probably a lot of people that started with Sticker Star and Origami King. So going from that to this is night and day.
Yeah, I it's just, and another thing, which is actually one element from the modern games, which I'm glad they're adapting in the Thousand Year Door remake, and is partially why this looks so good, is the fact, even though Color Splash and Origami King have their problems, one of the good things about them is that they actually had a really nice presentation in terms of like either cutscenes and how like different things were displayed and just the attention to detail
Oh
in a
yeah,
lot of
they were
areas.
very cinematic. They were
Yeah.
very cinematic.
Yeah, and they're kind of bringing over that cinematic quality of Color Splash and Origami King into Thousand Year Door. You could see it, like the intro cutscene. That clearly feels much more cinematic and along the lines of something that would have been in Color Splash or Origami King if those games were unrestricted. This Thousand Year Door remake. This is basically kind of like we're kind of seeing like a mixture of like that presentational cinematic aspect of Color Splash and Origami King combined with the unrestricted creative like nature of the older Paper Mario games. We're kind of seeing like a
The,
blend of those two styles now.
it's basically if Paper Mario had continued into this era without ever having restrictions.
Yeah.
And I just hope to God, I hope to God so bad that it stays like this.
Yeah. I think like I definitely could see how I mentioned like this is basically almost like a second reboot for the series. Like I don't think they're going to back down from this. Why would they set our expectations so high with this only to do something completely different for the next game? I don't think they're going to tease us with this because this has been in development for 4 years. I think they're kind of planning for the future of this series to kind of incorporate some of those like good presentational aspects of Color Splash and Origami King mixed with all of the things that we loved from the older games. I think like I definitely feel like they're kind of like planning for the future of Paper Mario here with the next Nintendo console and everything. I definitely feel like this is a sign of things to come. But yeah, so I like this is from what we've seen, I could definitely say this is worth $60. I could confidently say that. I mean, like for a lot of games, like it could kind of be like even games that I'm like really heavily biased towards, like Mario versus Donkey Kong, which I love. Even then, I could kind of be like, maybe that could have been a little cheaper, even though I love that game. But with Thousand Year Door, I feel like from what we've seen, I can understand why it's priced at like $60. And that's in another game coming out pretty soon, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Like that game is also going to be $60, but that's kind of one where I'm like, it's kind of like I mean, yes, they are upgrading a lot of the models and things, but this looks to be more in terms of like a Metroid Prime remastered situation than something more like the Thousand Year Door remake. So it really doesn't.
I don't know. Like I haven't played. I still haven't played Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. The only Luigi's Mansion game that I've completed is Luigi's Mansion 3. But if I remember correctly, Luigi's Mansion 3, when they first revealed it, it looked a lot worse than it did when it released. So I think maybe next time they show more of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, it might look a lot better.
Yeah.
But I might pick that up. I don't know, like, but there's definitely a bigger case for that one being worth a little bit less because it's like for one, the game they're going back to is a more recent game, so they probably can reuse more code.
Yeah. It's like it's just like not
But
as
Thousand Year Door, I couldn't see any of Thousand Year Door's formats being in a Switch game. Like, I just couldn't. So
yeah. It's just like I would say it's like very clear, like from what we've seen, that it's a full remake, and it definitely makes sense why it's $60 and everything. But yeah. Anyways, that's about all we wanted to say about the Thousand Year Door remake, like with how it's a remake and like why it's should be worth $60 and everything. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to subscribe to Fawful the Great 64 as well. And yeah, anyways, goodbye.
bye bye.